a calm spirit, a settled soul. You can walk through fire and not be burned. Some of y'all are losing sleep over battles that don't belong to you. You're reacting to everything, feeding every fear, answering every devil that barks. But God didn't create you to be reactive. He created you to be rooted. So I came with a word today. I came with a mission. And I came with a message. If you'll give me a few moments of your time, I'll show you how to anchor your thoughts, how to silence the noise, and how to train your mind to be calm in every situation, not some, every. Are you ready? Because we're about to shift something in the atmosphere. We're about to take authority over anxiety. And we're about to walk into the peace that passes all understanding. You know, one of the most misunderstood things in this life is the power of stillness. We live in a world that praises noise. It rewards the loudest voice in the room. It promotes hustle, chaos, and constant motion as if peace is something for the weak. But I came to tell somebody today, stillness is not weakness. Stillness is strength. Stillness is the sign that you know who you are and whose you are and whose you are. Stillness means you are rooted deep enough to know that storms can come, winds can blow, and waves can ride. But you're not moved because your faith is anchored in. Some of y'all have been told you always have to respond. You always have to clap back. You always have to defend yourself. But let me ask you something. What if your silence is louder than your words? What if your refusal to panic is your protest against the pressure? What if the enemy's greatest frustration is that no matter what he throws at, I don't know who this is for today, but somebody walked in here carrying chaos in them. Your spirit is noisy. Your heart is racing. Life has been loud lately, and peace feels like a stranger you once knew. But God sent me here to tell you, you can train your mind to be calm in every situation. You see, calmness is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's not giving up. Calmness is power under control. Calmness is strength wrapped in stillness. And if you ever want to win in this life, if you ever want to hear God clearly, think clearly, love clearly, you must first learn to be calm in the chaos. Because storms will come. Oh, they will come. I wish I could promise you a life without storms, but that ain't the truth. Life will shake you, people will try you, pressure will press you. But when you have a trained mind, be the promotion. Calm before the healing. Because if you can't trust God in the valley, you won't really praise him on the mountaintop. Let the world scream. Let the storm roar. Let the haters talk. Let the bank account drop. Let the timeline get messy. I made up my mind. I'm staying still. I'm staying calm. Not because of what I see, but because of what I know. And I know that God is with me. I know that he's still on the throne. I know that he's never lost a battle. And I know that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You've got to stop giving your peace away so cheap. You're letting too many things rent space in your head for free. Every opinion, every delay, every setback gets a reaction out of you. But when your mind is trained, you know how to choose your battles. You don't fight every fire. You don't. You remain calm. See, when your mind is untrained, every little thing becomes a trigger. Somebody rolls their eyes at you, now your whole day is off. The bills pile up, and now you can't sleep. A delay happens, and suddenly you're doubting everything. That's a sign that your mind is being led by the moment instead of being rooted in the master. Because when your mind is trained, you don't let external situations determine your internal posture. Let me remind you, Jesus was asleep in the boat during the storm. The disciples were losing it. The wind was howling. The water was crashing. But Jesus, asleep, calm, at peace. Because he knew something they didn't know. He had authority over the storm. And I came to tell you, when you know who walks with you, you don't panic over what's around you. When you know that God has never failed you, you can lay your head down in the middle of the fight and rest like it's already finished. That kind of peace doesn't come from wishing. It doesn't come from pretending. It doesn't come from numbing yourself or distracting yourself. No, that kind of peace is trained. That kind of calm is built. You've got to make up your mind that I will not be moved. I will not be shaken. I may cry, but I won't collapse. I may tremble, but I won't give up. Because my stillness is not a sign that I don't feel it. It's a sign that I've trained myself to trust God in it. Some of y'all been waiting for the chaos to stop before you calm down. But can I tell you something? Peace doesn't come when the situation changes. Peace comes when you change. You've got to learn to be calm before the breakthrough. Calm before. You chase every storm. You don't need to explain yourself to everybody. Sometimes your peace is your testimony. Sometimes your calmness is your clapback. Sometimes your silence is your sermon. There's power in being unbothered. Not because you're numb, not because you don't care, but because you've decided to protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. You've decided that nothing and no one is worth your sanity. You've decided that no storm will seal what God gave you. You've decided that even if the world is shaking, your soul is secure. And here's the real truth. When you are calm, you can hear God better. You can think clearer. You can discern what's real and what's noise. You can separate fear from faith, emotion from wisdom, pain from purpose. But you've got to quiet your spirit long enough to listen. I'm talking about putting the word of God in your mouth before the lies of the world get in your ears. You can't just react when things fall apart. You've got to build a life that's rooted in peace, rooted in truth, rooted in discipline, so that when the storm comes, it finds you already grounded. That's what spiritual training looks like. It's not dramatic, it's not flashy. It's consistent. You train your mind by shouting into the storm. You train your mind by sitting in stillness and learning how to hear God whisper. You train your mind by telling yourself the truth over and over again until it drowns out every lie. You train your mind by choosing to focus on what's eternal instead of what's urgent. Because everything urgent is not important. Everything loud is not powerful. And everything scary is not real. Ending. We're spiritually reactive. We wait until we're panicking to pray. We wait until we're hurt to listen. We wait until everything's falling apart before we try to stand firm. But let me tell you something. Peace is a discipline. Calmness is a muscle. And if you don't strengthen it in private, it will collapse in public. Every moment you spend in worship is not wasted. Every time you say no to the flesh and yes to the spirit, you're training your mind. Every time you resist the urge to lash out and instead sit in the presence of God, you're building calm. You're telling your soul, we don't live by feelings. We live by faith. And don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight. Training takes time. Your thoughts have patterns. Your reactions have history. But just like a muscle, the more you work on it, the strong. When your mind is untrained, you can't tell the difference. That's why you need to do the work before the weight hits. You need to plant peace deep in your spirit so it can't be uprooted by pressure. You need to rehearse the promises of God so that when the enemy starts shouting fear, your spirit shouts back with faith. You don't wait until the diagnosis comes to declare your healing. You declare it every morning before anything goes wrong. You don't wait until you're broke to start speaking abundance. You speak it when you have little so that it becomes your mindset no matter the season. You don't wait until somebody betrays you to talk about forgiveness. You walk in a posture of forgiveness daily so bitterness doesn't take root. That's how you train your mind. That's how you stay ready. The problem with too many of us got to sit still long enough to hear heaven speak. Some of the breakthroughs you're waiting for are delayed. They're drowned out by the noise in your mind. And until you get still, until you get calm, until you train your mind to rest in the promises of God, you'll keep reacting instead of responding. You'll keep panicking instead of praying. You'll keep spiraling instead of standing. So today, We're flipping the script. We're rewiring our response. We're taking authority over anxiety because this peace I have, the world didn't give it. And the world can't take it away. I'm not moved. I'm trained. You can't wait until the storm hits to start preparing your mind. You can't wait until life falls apart to try and build inner peace. That's like trying to learn how to swim while you're already drowning. If you want to be. In the middle of the fire, you've got to train before the flames ever come. You've got to work on your mind before the attack. You've got to develop discipline when everything's going right, so you'll have strength when everything goes wrong. See, preparation is not just physical. It's mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's what you do when nobody's watching. It's how you talk to yourself in the quiet moment. It's what you feed your spirit when life is still. Because the battlefield isn't out there. It's up here. The war is in your mind. And if you don't train your thoughts will train you. You have to build routines of peace before panic knocks on your door. I'm talking about prayer that isn't just reactive. It's daily. I'm talking about waking up and commanding your mind before the day commands you. It gets. Every day you wake up and choose peace, you're getting stronger. Every day you refuse to panic and instead pause and pray, you're getting sharper. Every time you catch your thoughts trying to spiral and you say, no, I'm not going there today, you're reclaiming your mind. You're taking back control. And let me tell you, when your mind is trained, life hits different. You stop giving everything access. You stop panicking over every delay. You stop jumping into every argument. You stop looking for validation in places that once made you anxious. Because your calm doesn't come from circumstances, it comes from clarity. You know who you are. You know who God is. And you know that peace is not something you wait for. It's something you prepare for. There are going to be moments in your life when the world is spinning about your declarations. You've got to make it a habit to speak life, to speak faith, to speak peace until your spirit starts believing it, even on your worst days. What you meditate on will either heal you or haunt you. Some of us are emotionally stuck because we're mentally trapped. We keep circling around guilt, shame, what they did, what we lost, how we failed, and we wonder why peace keeps slipping through our fingers. But peace doesn't live in a tormented mind. Peace grows in a guarded mind, a renewed mind, a mind that's been surrendered to God. That's why the word says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Not your situation, not your job, not your bank accounts, your mind. If you don't renew your mind, your circumstances can change and you'll still be bound. You'll still think small. You'll still expect. If you don't catch it, it will lead you. You can't just let fear run wild. You can't let insecurity talk unchecked. You can't let doubt speak without being answered. When the thought comes, I'm not good enough, you respond, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. When the voice whispers, you're going to fail again, you declare, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When your mind says, nobody cares, you remind yourself, God will never leave me nor forsake me. That's how you guard your peace. You speak back. And don't underestimate the power of repetition. The enemy doesn't just attack once, he attacks consistently. So if you want to defeat him, you've got to be consistent in return. You can't speak the truth once and then stay silent the next 10 times the lie comes back. You've got to be disciplined when people are looking to you for answers and everything in you wants to scream. But because you've trained, you'll be able to stand in that moment and say, I've already been here in my spirit. I've already walked through this in prayer. I've already prepared my mind for this weight, and I'm not going to fall apart because I've already trained for this battle. This is why you've got to train now before the storm comes, before the pressure hits, before the trial shows up. Because when you stay ready You don't have to get ready. You've already built the foundation. You've already armed yourself with peace. And when the enemy tries to shake you, he'll find out. You're already grounded. You can't have a calm life if you've got a chaotic mind. You can't walk in peace when your thoughts are constantly pulling you in 10 different directions. Some of us are not tired because of what we're doing physically. We're tired because of what we're entertaining mentally. The battlefield is not always around you. The real battle is what's happening between your ears. And until you learn to guard your thoughts, you will keep forfeiting your peace. You've got to be intentional about what you allow to live in your head. Every thought doesn't deserve your attention. Every opinion doesn't deserve your agreement. Every fear doesn't deserve your meditation. Because whatever you allow to sit in your mind will eventually settle in your heart. And what settles in your heart shapes your actions, your attitude, and your atmosphere. Some of y'all are living anxious, still running loops in your mind. You got imaginations, not even realities. Imaginations stealing your rest. You're preparing for things that may never happen. You're arguing in your mind with people who aren't even thinking about you. And all of that internal noise is robbing you of the calm that God wants you to walk in. But here's the truth. You have the authority to guard your mind. You may not be able to control what shows up at your mental doorstep, but you do get to decide what stays. You don't have to let every thought take root. You don't have to let every lie grow legs. Just because it knocks doesn't mean you have to open the door. You have to start challenging those thoughts and asking, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this what God says about me? Because if you don't confront it, it will control you. Defeat. You'll still feel unsafe, even in safe places. But when your mind is renewed, when your thoughts are guarded, you can walk through fire and not flinch. You can hear bad news and not crumble. You can sit in the middle of uncertainty and still carry peace like it's your birthright. You got to get aggressive about protecting your inner peace. That means learning how to say no. That means walking away from gossip. That means turning off the noise that feeds fear and tuning into the voice that feeds faith. That means unfollowing some voices that speak confusion and surrounding yourself with voices that speak clarity. Because peace isn't passive. It's not just the absence of noise. It's the presence of order. It's the product of discipline, and it starts in your thoughts. Don't let a stormy thought create a stormy life. Don't let an anxious imagination steal today's strength. You've been given too much power to lies, too much space to worry, too much energy to what ifs. And now it's time to take your mind back, to reclaim your peace, to guard your thoughts like your future depends on it, because it does. You don't have to be at the mercy of every emotion. You don't have to ride every wave of fear. You don't have to keep rehearsing defeat when God has spoken victory. Train your thoughts, guard your peace. And when the enemy comes knocking, let him find a mind that is calm, covered, and completely convinced that God is still in control. There comes a point in your life when you have to make a decision, not an emotional one, not a circumstantial one, but a spiritual decision. That no matter what happens, you will trust God completely. Not halfway, not when it makes sense, not only when things go your way. I'm talking about a settled, unwavering, deep down in your soul kind of trust that says, even if I don't understand it, even if I don't like it, even if it hurts, I still believe God is working. Because the truth is, trust is what anchors calm. You can't be calm in the storm if you don't believe the one who controls it. You can't rest if you secretly think God forgot about you. You can't walk in peace if deep down you're convinced that things are going to fall apart at any moment. Calmness is the fruit of trust. It's not about how quiet the world gets. It's about how convinced your spirit is that God is still good, even in the dark. Sometimes God doesn't change the situation because he's trying to change your response. It's not always going to, not always a feeling. There are going to be days when everything in you wants to panic, but your spirit has to rise up and say, no, I trust him. I don't have to understand it to believe he's working it for my good. That's the kind of trust that sustains you. That's the kind of trust that calms the chaos inside. That's the kind of trust that gives you a supernatural kind of stillness, even when all hell is breaking loose around you. You can't say you trust God and still try to control everything. You can't say you trust him and then worry yourself sick trying to manipulate the outcome. Trust means you surrender the pen. You stop trying to rewrite the story and start letting him lead. You stop rehearsing your worst case scenarios and start resting in his promises. Because he's never failed you yet, and he's not about to. Hey, stop the storm just because you cry. Sometimes he lets it rage just long enough to show you that the storm can't shake what's built on faith. You've got to trust that God knows what he's doing even when you don't see the full picture. You've got to trust that his silence doesn't mean absence. His delays aren't denials, and his plan is still good even if it's not your plan. And wait and wonder. I know what it's like to carry questions that don't have clear answers. I know what it's like to stand at a crossroads and not know which way to turn. But let me tell you what I've learned. Peace is not the absence of uncertainty. Peace is the presence of God in the middle of uncertainty. And the more you trust him, the calmer you become. Trust is a choice. Some of us trust God for salvation, but not for provision. We trust him with eternity, but not with today. We trust him with our souls, but not with our situation. But God didn't call you to half trust him. He wants your whole heart. He wants your full surrender. Not because he needs control. He already has it, but because you need the release. You need the freedom that comes from letting go. You need the peace that comes from saying, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I know who. When your trust is in God, you don't have to panic about people. You don't have to chase validation. You don't have to fear the future. You don't have to keep your guard up all the time because you're scared something will fall apart. When your trust is real, your rest is deep. When your faith is firm, your heart is steady. Where he proved himself over and over again. And now he's asking you, will you trust me even here? Will you trust me when it's not clear, not comfortable, not easy? Will you trust me enough to stay calm while I work it out behind the scenes? Because when you trust God completely, you don't need all the answers. You just need his presence. And if he's with you, you can be calm in every situation. And when your eyes are fixed on him, the winds may blow, but you won't be moved. Even when the answers don't come. Even when the healing takes longer than you hoped. Even when the door doesn't open the way you thought it would, trust him. Trust that he sees what you can't. Trust that he's weaving something in the background that will make sense later. Trust that he's building your character while you're waiting for the miracle. Trust that he's protecting you from things you didn't even know were dangerous. That's how you stay calm. Not because life is calm, but because your soul is anchored in the one who holds it all together. You've come too far to doubt now. You've seen him make a way too many times to second guess him this time. You've cried too many tears that turn into testimonies. You've walked through too many valleys